Hi everybody, Tashi here from Pixie Mommies Reborns. Welcome back to my channel. To everyone new, hello and welcome. So we have Oscar here today. So I don't have a topic coming out of the gates, but I'm sure I'll get going talking on something that this will wind up being titled. So Oscar's going to say hello to all his aunties and uncles out there. And to those of you who do not know Oscar, I'm going to introduce him. So Oscar is a full-bodied silicone baby. And he is the Dwayn Awake #2 by Claire Taylor Dolls. And I'm going to be showing you a bit of Oscar and his movements as I get him changed. I came up to change him. This is his little jelly cat. We have not named this little guy yet. His little jelly cat that I had gotten from the hospital gift shop. Yeah, he needs a name, this little rabbit, and he jingles. He's so soft. This is our first jelly cat here in my nursery. Oscar got the first jelly cat, and I love the softness and the quality, so probably something that I'll be getting more lovies in this brand. So, what I'm going to change Oscar into, because I am dying to try these shoes on him. These adorable little cream shoes, and they have the little pom-poms on the ends of the laces, little fancy Spanish baby shoes. Super, super adorable. And I'm going to put on him this turtleneck. It is a jacquardie. And it has two little penguins on it, on the front of it. Just like embroidered on there. Really cute. And this is like an off-white color, which is why I chose this long sleeve bodysuit, and I wanted to see his legs, so we're going to pair it with this little knit. This is by Tun. So it's a really soft, lightweight, really sweet knit. And these are a wool blend sock. They're H&M's premium wool blend sock, so it's just like the knee socks in a ribbed, and they're in a cream color. So I thought, at least, I don't know how much the outfit goes together, because you all know how I am with that, but it matches. And then I have this piece. This is originally what I was going to put on him. This is by Jacquardie. Really, really gorgeous knit, I guess, overall pants. Like, they have the suspenders, and oh, they're just so cute. But what I'm going to do is, because I want to see his legs and I want to take some photos, and this will go pair nicely with this this turtleneck as well. So I can just swap these two pieces to take some different photos and stuff. So that's what I'm going to do, because I kind of wanted to see both on him, and I wanted to see his legs. So it is beautiful. It is sunny out today, the first sunny day we've had in, I don't even know how long, here in New York on Long Island. And one thing, I haven't been on, like, I think it's Wednesday, and I haven't been on all weekend. So I am very behind. I'm behind on rolling out my new series for new collectors, the ABCs of collecting. So bear with me on that one, folks. I have had a terrible run of migraines. A lot of you know that I am a migraine sufferer. And, you know, sometimes I go a while and I just have like my normal, you know, 1 or 2 migraines a month. And then sometimes I get like a bad spurt, which has happened. And I get complicated migraines. So not only do I get like just the pain, but I get other symptoms as well. And then sometimes even when I get rid of the pain, those other symptoms like severe fatigue, like severe fatigue, numbing. I had numbing in my left arm and both my hands, my left foot. I get stuff like that, numbing in my face, sometimes loss of vision. I didn't lose my vision this time over the weekend, but nausea usually without vomiting, but nausea. Anyway, just, unpleasantness. I really, I put up on Instagram asking all you migraine sufferers out there, has anybody had a rough go of it kind of over the weekend, the past, several days or the past week? Because sometimes what will happen is when I'm going through suffering like that, a lot of other people, even in different parts of the country and kind of all over, it doesn't matter, will say they've been suffering the same. So I don't know if it has to do with the moon, the tide. I really don't know. Really don't know. But I can tell you that I feel like what was going on was more allergy based, which is odd for this time of year. I do have seasonal allergies, but I can't really think of anything this time of year that goes out of whack with allergies, but yet the sinuses in my face, the sinuses in the back of my neck, that's really where a lot of the pain was, and it just felt like it was coming from, I had to take Benadryl twice, which takes me for a total loop, because it's not something that I take often at all, but it will, get the histamines out and stuff, and I had to take it twice. So I feel like allergy kind of triggering type migraines. So I wanted to describe that, and for whoever can talk to me in the comments and let me know what you've had going on with your migraine. So here is Oscar down to his little cloth diaper, and some of you know, I told you in the last video I had him in that his one leg armature went. So his arm armatures had went before he came to me. So he's got armatures in there, but they don't work, they don't do anything, which I like. I really love that his arms are not stiff. The Claire Taylor doll that I had before Oscar was the Kayden, and she was the bonus baby of her Kayden sculpt. So she was poured like Oscar in this super soft silicone in the one-piece pour, and she had the spine and the armatures and all the stuff except for the skull, and Oscar doesn't have a skull either. That's the only thing. But she had all that. And I did enjoy being able to pose her arms for pictures, but her arms were stiffer, and for feeling, for movement, for realism, I don't know. I feel like not having the armatures, especially in a doll like a bigger, chunkier sculpt, and Claire's dolls in particular, from what I've seen myself, not that I've had many Claire Taylor dolls, I've had Oscar's my third, but, from watching everyone else's videos, I can see that, her sculpts they have, I don't even know what the word is for it. They just have structure. They have structure. I don't see noodle arms, they don't bend in like weird ways that like a baby wouldn't bend, if you know what I'm saying. So they don't really need the armatures unless you want them for posing. And I can tell you his leg armature, because this one still works, did really nothing for posing, because he's got such chubby legs anyway. I did kind of like, even this armature here, though, you can only work it up so much, and then look at how he moves on his own. It just goes down, but isn't that the coolest thing? I still to this day. In the beginning, when I got Oscar, I would sit here on video going, look, 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 and we would just watch him. But still to this day with him, I don't want to bore you all doing it all the time, but I do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I post it on my Instagram sometimes. I'll post a short video clip of, you know, him somehow moving, which is just super, super neat. Let's put him on his side here, and we'll watch him roll over. Look at that. All right, well, he kind of fell, but, you know, that was on his own. I didn't touch him. I didn't touch the bed. I didn't, you know. Well, to the other side. We'll check out Oscar's movement, because you're alive, right, Oscar? I don't know. For me, this is, in my time in collecting, the closest that I have had to a living baby in my nursery, in my collection. And he's got his spine back here. You can all see his spine there. Kayden's, the Kayden sculpt, you could feel the spine and see it all the way down. He's a little bit meatier. So his spine, you can feel it up here, but it goes a little deeper down there, and he's got a little more back chubbies, which I love. Look at that back. Look at that back wrinkling. Can y'all see that? And of course, when you go this way, it just totally wrinkles up. So, so cool. There's just no detail on this doll. I mean, he's got armpits. Everything just wrinkles. It's just so much like living skin and a living baby. Are we going to roll? Are we going to roll, Oscar? I guess you need some help off that side, huh? Oh, now he's going to go slow. So you could all watch that while I'm talking. He's going slow. I'm not touching anything. My hands are here. So, he just amazes me. And I, in some way or another, I'm going to give him a little, spend time with Oscar every day, even if it's just walking past and looking at him, because he is in the bassinet downstairs, so I can really, really enjoy him. So he's really, you know, he is definitely become the baby to those of you that have been with me. And thank you, by the way, for all of you that have been with my channel for, you know, quite a while. And remember, before I had any silicones in my collection, of course, I had that first one in the beginning of my collection, but I never had that doll on YouTube. So for all of you that remember, before I had any silicones, and I would talk about having that one special, you know, silicone doll that would be like the center of my universe here in doll collecting. And I have that. Oscar is it. There is just, I was just talking to a friend last night, another collector, just, you know, it's a really nice feeling, just to be so happy and so content with a baby. And, folks, I never, ever dreamed I would get here. You know, I just never could. There was a time that I could not even fathom, you know, having a baby like this, a doll like this, you know, and I always, you know, if you listen to my older videos, I would say, you know, I kind of know my taste. We're going to start getting him dressed because this video is going on a long time. I know my own self and I know my taste and, you know, what I loved in the realism and the reborns and all of that. And I had one silicone starting out, which, by the way, for, you know, for what he was, you know, he was a preemie, he was the Little Peanut sculpt by Dawn Bowie, and he was molded, casted, poured, and finished by Kristen Englert. So very high quality, you know, doll, and gorgeous, gorgeous painting on him. didn't have the movement that, you know, I wanted. He had an open mouth, but it, you know, it was tight. I really couldn't do, like, you know, role play bottle feedings and stuff like that. There was features that, you know, I really wanted in a doll. And then, of course, you know, once I got going and saw dolls like, you know, Claire Taylor dolls and some of the other higher end silicone dolls, that was all she wrote. I was like, oh boy, you know, that's, you know, now that I know that's out there, you know. And then I did reach the point where I got, some of you may remember the Mishka sculpt by Alina Westbrook, which, that's a high end, you know, she's a really, really, you know, nice doll, what you would consider a higher end silicone doll. But I lucked out. Another collector had snatched her up from an artist that they were practicing. It was their first time painting an ethnic skin tone on silicone. So she sold the doll at a deep discount because, you know, she wanted to make it clear that that wasn't her best work and it was something new she was trying. For me, I like the babies that have, you know, darker skin anyway. The boo-boos didn't bother me. She was a really, really, you know, sweet baby. And she had such nice movement. Such an adorable, adorable face. And she had the features that I wanted in the, you know, open mouth. She was not a one-piece pour, and she did not have a drinking wet. So those were some of the things that I was missing. She wasn't open-eyed. She wasn't a one-piece pour. She didn't have the drinking wet features that I was missing, but I was happy with her, and I was like, this is great. You know, she really had the movement. I could do the feeding role play. So if I stopped at her, I would have been content, you know, in what I was doing. It just so happened opportunity arose, you know, very shortly after I got her, that enabled to me that if I sold her and I added some to it, I was then able to get my first actual Claire Taylor doll, which was the Andrew, which is Gabriel over by Erica, which is really her. He's always been hers. He belongs to her. That baby just keeps coming back. Oh, he's destined to be there. But, oh, and to experience Claire's painting and Claire's silicone, I mean, like, oh, and in the AA, oh my gosh, and that baby is gorgeous. His rooting is gorgeous. His painting is gorgeous. He's a special baby. So, but he was a sleeping baby, and I craved that eye interaction with the silicone. I saw the few one-piece pours at the time that were out there, and I really liked that wrinkles in the neck and all that. And I craved that. And I craved the drinking wet. You know, I needed to keep going at that point. And again, then I let Gabriel go, and I again added to my investment and did the Kayden. You know, and Kayden was, you know, she was open-eyed, and she has all the features that Oscar has. So the only thing that was missing then was that she was a girl and she was Caucasian. And so my overall preferences over everything in the dolls is the, you know, AA or ethnic, you know, painting. And I'm partial to boys. I'm partial to baby boys. So I certainly was enjoying Kayden, and I would have if Oscar never came up. I definitely would have. But once I saw a picture of Oscar, I didn't even know he existed before he had made his stop at Auntie Annie's. I saw him and I said, that's my son. That's my boy. that's my boy. What do I have to do to bring my boy home? And then I think I've told this story recently. Yes, I did. On the trade, with Angela. And then here's Oscar. So it came gradually. No, it didn't take me years and years. It's happened over maybe in less than a year's time that I did all that. But at the time when I said, when I sold one and I added and I went to another one, I sold reborns out of my collection at that time to make up. I had an investment in reborn dolls, and then whatever mad money, whatever I could, what you all do. We all, move it, scrape it, get it together, worked my tushkins off. I worked extra days that I couldn't keep up working like a dog like that, burning the candle at both ends forever. But sometimes when I wanted to do something, I would, do that. I just, you find a way. And I found a way. I worked very hard, very hard. And I sold, dolls out of my collection that I miss and things like that. But, it's all about, as collectors, navigating our way is what's most important to us. Only you know what's going to make you happy as a collector. And as a reborn and silicone mommy and daddy. Only you know. It's fun to talk about and hear our different personal preferences. I'm sure it's fun for those of you that are listening to me talking about what floated my boat, what was the ultimate for me, why, how did I get there, that sort of thing. I know, obviously, if you're here listening to me, you're enjoying it. And for me, I love hearing others, and watching others' journeys as well, which reminds me, I would like to give a warm welcome to Braden. Hi, Braden, over at Trans Daddy of Reborns. Braden is fairly new to the community, and he's been here on YouTube, I believe he said since October. Wonderful new addition to our growing community of doll collectors. And he has some reborns and silicones. He's, very actively, just dove in, and he's just collecting, and it's just so fun to see. Really great person, funny, down to earth, easy to relate to. I really enjoy his videos when I have time. I really enjoy his videos. And he's held, I think he's held a few live streams. I was at one, so he's hopping right on, giving us some live streams. He's putting in to the community and all about dolls. So head on over. I will put a link to Braden's channel. It's Trans Daddy of Reborns in the description of this video. Head on over, check out Braden's channel, and I'm sure you'll want to subscribe and, give him a warm welcome, please. That was overdue, Braden, because we really like you. It's just so fun to see new collectors starting out and to be like so happy when they're getting their dolls and starting to talk about they're figuring out their preferences. Do I prefer open eyes, closed eyes? Everything that they're experiencing is a new experience. So you're watching it like for the first time. For me, it kind of brings back memories, even though it wasn't all that long ago that I started. But I dove in as well, head first, really fast, go big or go home. I did initially, the first year, put a very large investment into my, collection of dolls. And we all have our stories. It's none of anybody's business how people come up with their money or why, or it's not. I know, you know, some channels go off on that, and, you know, to me, I turn it off. I don't want to hear of somebody's finances being picked apart, or their lives being picked apart, or anything personal being picked apart, because this is a doll hobby. I want to hear about dolls. Right? Right, Oscar? Say, we want to hear about dollies. We want to hear about us. Because, right, this is what we're here for. Look at this boy. Look at this baby. And I also, look at those feces. Well, I have Oscar here. His cousin, well, really his sister, because she's a sister sculpt. Monroe, over by, most of you know Kelly Girl, and most of you know the baby Monroe that I'm talking about, which she is also a Dwayne in the Claire Taylor edition. I believe the little girls, Dwaynes, were called Denia, so technically she would be a Denia because Monroe is a little girl, but it's so neat to see this face on a little girl, and of course painted so differently. Like, it's so neat to see how different the baby is, but how that adorable face is still there. And he has other siblings over, and like where Gabriel went back to, Erica has one. You know, lots of us have. I don't want to miss anybody, so I don't want to start naming. My main thing was to tell you about Kelly, because Kelly Girl has a great video up. Go and check it out. She had an interview done and is gonna be one of a few people in the community featured in you know, a piece that I guess it's I'm not even sure, a magazine, newspaper, something of the sort. Go watch her video. That'll tell you. The name of that's not out yet, because that won't get released until the final piece is done, I guess, you know, until it airs, goes on. But it really exciting. In her video, she shares a piece of the interview. The man was there all day at her home, and her daughter recorded like a little clip of the actual interview that's in there, which is really cool. And you know, I just cannot think of a better collector to you know, represent the you know, the silicone end of collecting. She just did it such an amazing job. You know, it was just, you know, nice to see. So that is super exciting. One of our own, right? It's like, oh my goodness. But yeah, I think, you know, because, you know, a lot of the magazine, you know, like, a lot of like tabloids and things, I get contacted pretty regularly. I've done I did a phone interview. I've done a few interviews. I've spoken to some places that have contacted me. But once they go and start in their line of questioning, I've always ended it. I've never went forward with anything because of the line of questioning. They're always looking for a glitch to put a spin on the hobby in some way. You know, like just either to make it look more of like a cuckoo thing, or, you know, one was, you know, really pounding about how much money are they? What's your most expensive doll? How much have you spent in a year? How much have you spent on, you know, like they were, you could tell the spin that they want to put on it. And, you know, it will be nice to see, hopefully, I think the vibe went, you know, that, you know, to portray this hobby how we all would like it to be out there. You know, this is not some off-tilt crazy thing. It's a collector's hobby, and it might look a little funny to some of those who have never seen, you know, these dolls or experienced like our YouTube channels and our social media, to right off the bat look and see, you know, a woman there, you know, with a bottle pretending to feed, role-playing, feeding a doll or pushing a stroller around or sitting in a whole nursery that they made for a doll. Like, you know, but I think what people don't understand is it's like the same thing as if you were really into collecting trains and, you know, you bought antiques and this and that and Lionel trains and whatever, and you had a train room, you know, you had a den that had all your trains in it, you know, a hobby room. Like, nobody thinks that's nuts. And I'm very sure that people go in there and they press buttons and they make the trains go and they move the things around and maybe they record it or play out. I mean, like, people play with their collections. These are collectibles that are also, you know, something tangible, something we can play with, something we can, you know, emotionally connect with. They don't connect back with us, but you know what I'm saying. And so it's a fun hobby, and some of us get really into it, and it certainly doesn't make us nuts. And I think it's something that all of us would like to see out there in the mainstream more, you know, so, you know, not that we get tons of comments of, you know, people being disrespectful, because we don't. But they do. They come in, and it kind of makes you feel like, geez, you know, I'm just a normal, you know, person here for the most part. I mean, there's no way to define normal, of course. I don't mean it on that respect, in any way. I just mean that, you know, it's just no different than any other hobby. So look at Oscar. Doesn't he look so stinking cute? Oh my gosh, my camera's gonna cut off. Well, I made it a long video. I was gonna make it a short video. I'm very sorry. But to those of you still listening and looking at Oscar, thank you for being here. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit your notification bell so you receive invites to my live streams. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And Oscar and I will see you next time. All right, everyone. God bless.